My daughter Emma's face crumpled as she held out her iPad, showing me the stream of photos and videos from my sister-in-law Melissa's Instagram stories. There they all were, my nieces and nephews, my in-laws, even family friends, gathered around my nephew Tyler as he blew out his birthday candles. The party we'd been told was canceled due to illness was in full swing. "I don't understand," Emma whispered, her voice trembling. Her brother Max, only 6, peered over her shoulder, his usual cheerful expression clouded with confusion. "Everyone looks fine. They're all having fun without us." I pulled both my children close, trying to hide my own shock and anger. Just hours ago, Melissa had sent that text. "Hey Sarah, really sorry, but we've got a stomach bug going around. Having to cancel Tyler's party. We'll reschedule soon." I'd spent the afternoon consoling my kids, who had been looking forward to celebrating their cousin's birthday for weeks. They even made him special cards. But there was Melissa, perfectly healthy, filming as Tyler opened presents. My mother-in-law, Susan, beamed in the background, helping him with the ribbons. Everyone was there. Everyone except us. Maybe, I started, struggling to find the right words to explain this to my children without breaking their hearts further. But how do you explain to kids that their own family deliberately excluded them? The signs had been there for years, if I was honest. Little comments from Melissa about how my children were different from their cousins. The way she pulled her kids away when mine tried to play with them at family gatherings. The constant comparisons, her children's private school achievements versus my kids' public school education, their expensive extracurriculars versus our modest activities. My husband, David, Melissa's brother, had always told me to ignore it. "That's just how Melissa is," he'd say. "She's always been competitive." But this wasn't competition. This was cruelty. I scrolled through more photos, my anger building. There was Tyler opening the exact gift we had planned to give him. A deluxe Allegio set he'd been wanting. Somehow, Melissa had found out what we were getting and bought it herself. In her caption she wrote, "Only the best for my perfect boy. #best mom ever." The timestamp caught my eye. These photos were posted just minutes after she had texted me about canceling. She hadn't even tried to hide it. She wanted us to see. She wanted my children to know they weren't welcome. "Why don't you two go play in the backyard for a bit?" I suggested, forcing a smile. "I need to make a phone call." Once they were out of earshot, I called David at work. Had he seen Melissa's Instagram? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm in meetings all day," he replied, distracted. "What's going on?" As I explained, his silence grew heavier. "That can't be right," he finally said. "There must be some mistake." Melissa wouldn't. "Look at the photos, David. Look at the timestamps. She lied to us. She excluded your children from their cousin's birthday party and made sure they knew about it." More silence. "Then, I'll talk to her." "No," I said firmly. "This time, I'm handling it." I hung up and went to check on the kids. They were sitting on the swing set, unusually quiet. Emma was showing Max something on the iPad again. More party photos. My heart ached watching them try to process this rejection. But as I observed them, I noticed something in the background of one of the photos that made me pause. Behind the cake and the celebrating family, partially visible on the wall, was my father-in-law's prized collection of family photos. And there, clear as day, was something that made my blood run cold. I zoomed in, hardly daring to believe what I was seeing. There, in a simple silver frame, was a photograph I recognized. But it had been altered. The original was from last Christmas, showing all the grandchildren together. But in this version, Emma and Max had been edited out. They hadn't just excluded my children from the party. They'd been systematically erasing them from the family history. That's when I knew this wasn't just about a birthday party. This was about something much bigger, something that had been building for years. And as I stood there, watching my children try to understand why their family didn't want them, I made a decision. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the number I needed. It was time to make a call that would unravel everything Melissa had built her perfect family image around. Because what she didn't know was that I had recently discovered something that would turn her carefully constructed world upside down. She thought she could hurt my children and get away with it. She was about to learn how wrong she was. I stared at my father-in-law's phone number for a long moment before dialing. Robert had always been different from the rest of them, quieter, more observant. He had never joined in Melissa's subtle cruelty, but he hadn't stopped it either. Until now, I hadn't understood why. Sarah? His voice was hesitant when he answered. I was hoping you'd call. The photos on your wall, Robert, I said quietly. The edited ones. How long has this been going on? There was a long pause. Come to my office tomorrow morning. There's something you need to see. The next day, after dropping the kids off at school, I drove to the small accounting firm where Robert had worked for 40 years. His office was cluttered but organized, every file in its place. He closed the door behind me and pulled out a thick folder from his bottom drawer. I've been keeping records, he said, his voice heavy. Ever since Melissa started, well, since things changed after Susan's mother died. He spread the contents across his desk, bank statements, legal documents, and a series of letters that made my hands shake as I read them. The truth about Melissa's perfect life, about why she was so desperate to push my children out of the family picture, was laid bare in black and white. The inheritance, I breathed, the pieces clicking into place. It wasn't just money, was it? Robert shook his head. My mother-in-law left specific instructions. The family estate, the trust fund. It's all to be divided equally among the grandchildren when they turn 21. All the grandchildren. And Melissa doesn't want to share. I finished, understanding dawning. She's been trying to force us out before Emma comes of age. It's worse than that, Robert said, pulling out another document. Melissa's been embezzling from the trust, using the money for her perfect lifestyle. If there's an audit when Emma turns 21, she'll go to jail. I finished. The expensive private schools, the lavish parties, the constant social media posts about her wonderful life. It was all built on stolen money. Money that partially belonged to my children. Why are you showing me this now? I asked. Robert's eyes filled with tears. Because I saw Emma's face yesterday through the window at the party. She looked just like her grandmother, Susan's mother. The same kind eyes, the same gentle spirit. I can't watch Melissa hurt those kids anymore. I gathered the documents with trembling hands. What do you want me to do? What you think is right, he replied. But Sarah, be careful. Melissa won't take this well. On my way home, my phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. Hope the kids aren't too disappointed about missing the party. Maybe next time. The fake sweetness made my stomach turn. I thought about Emma and Max, how they cried themselves to sleep last night, believing their family didn't love them. I thought about all the other slights over the years, the lost birthday invitations, the forgotten Christmas gifts, the constant exclusion. When I got home, I found an email from Robert containing scanned copies of everything he'd shown me, along with one more document, his sworn statement about Melissa's financial manipulation. I sat down at my computer and began composing 2 emails. The first was to our family lawyer, attaching all the evidence and requesting an immediate audit of the trust fund. The second was to Melissa. Dear Melissa, I wrote, thank you for sharing those lovely party photos. I particularly enjoyed seeing Dad's photo wall in the background. Interesting editing choice, removing Emma and Max. I wonder what the trust fund administrators would think about that and about some other creative editing you've been doing with the accounts. I attached a single bank statement showing a large unauthorized transfer from the trust to her personal account. Would you like to explain this to the family, or should I? My finger hovered over the send button. This would change everything. There would be no going back, no maintaining the facade of family harmony. But then I remembered Emma's tears, Max's confusion, years of watching my children being treated as less than. I hit send. Melissa's response was immediate and explosive. My phone started ringing seconds later, but I let it go to voicemail. Instead, I went outside where Emma and Max were playing and pulled them into a tight hug. Things are going to be different now, I promised them. No more canceled parties, no more lies. How do you know? Emma asked, her eyes still holding traces of yesterday's hurt. Because sometimes, I said, watching my phone light up with increasingly frantic messages from Melissa. The truth has a way of fixing things that kindness couldn't. I looked at my buzzing phone one last time before turning it off. Tomorrow would bring chaos, family drama, legal meetings, hard conversations. But for now, I just held my children close, knowing that finally, after all these years, justice was coming, and Melissa's perfect family portrait was about to get a reality check. The fallout was immediate and devastating. By morning, Melissa had rallied the family against me, sending a barrage of angry messages, calling me spiteful and jealous. My mother-in-law, Susan, left a tearful voicemail about how I was tearing the family apart. But the bank statements and trust fund documents spoke louder than their accusations. David, my husband, sat stunned at our kitchen table as I showed him everything his father had given me. All this time, he whispered, looking at the evidence of his sister's theft. All those times she made us feel like we weren't good enough, like our kids weren't good enough. She was stealing from them. Not just stealing, I corrected gently. She was trying to push them out completely. The edited photos, the constant exclusion. She wanted to erase any proof they were part of the family before Emma turned 21. A family meeting was called at Robert's insistence. I'll never forget walking into their house that evening, Emma and Max holding my hands tightly. Melissa sat at the dining room table, her perfect makeup unable to hide her panic. Susan hovered nearby, shooting me accusatory glances. "How dare you threaten my daughter?" Susan began, but Robert cut her off. "Show them, Melissa," he said quietly. "Show them what you did with the trust fund money." The truth spilled out like a dam breaking. Years of unauthorized withdrawals, manipulated accounts, how to maintain her illusion of perfection. The private schools, the expensive vacations, the lavish parties, all paid for with money that belonged to all the grandchildren, including Emma and Max. "I deserved it," Melissa finally snapped, her carefully constructed facade cracking. "My children deserve the best. Not like," she glanced dismissively at Emma and Max. "Not like what?" I challenged, my voice steady. "Not like my children. The ones you've been trying to erase." That's when Emma stepped forward, pulling something from her backpack. It was her handmade birthday card for Tyler, decorated with careful drawings and loving messages from both her and Max. "We just wanted to be part of the family," she said softly, placing it on the table. The simple gesture hit harder than any accusation. Melissa's face crumpled. For the first time, I saw past her perfect mask to the insecurity beneath. She'd spent so long building this image of superiority, of special status, that she couldn't bear the thought of sharing it. The lawyers arrived the next day. The trust fund was frozen pending investigation. Melissa's carefully curated social media went silent. No more perfect family photos, no more elaborate parties, no more carefully edited reality. Tyler's rescheduled birthday party was held 2 weeks later, a simple celebration this time, with no expensive decorations or catered food. But Emma and Max were there, watching their cousin open their handmade card with genuine joy. Robert took a new family photo, one that included everyone, and hung it prominently on the wall. Susan still struggles to accept the change in family dynamics, but she's trying. David has found his voice, standing up to his sister's attempts at manipulation. And Melissa? She's been ordered to repay everything she took from the trust fund. Her perfect facade has cracked, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. Last week, Emma came home from school excited about a playdate with her cousins, the first one they'd ever been invited to. As I watched them play together, laughing and unguarded, I realized that sometimes it takes breaking something to fix it properly. The family isn't perfect anymore, but it's real, and my children finally have the place in it they always deserved. "Mom," Emma said that evening, snuggled up next to me on the couch, "I'm glad you didn't let them make us disappear." I hugged her close, thinking of that edited family photo that had started it all. "Some people are worth fighting for," I told her. "And you and Max, you're worth everything." The truth had cost us the illusion of a perfect family, but it had given us something better, a chance at a genuine one. And watching my children finally being treated as equals, finally being included and loved, I knew it had been worth every difficult moment. Sometimes the biggest act of love isn't maintaining peace. It's being brave enough to shatter it when that peace is built on lies. My children would grow up knowing that, and knowing that they were never the ones who needed to be edited out of the picture. They were the ones who made it complete.